All right, I wanted to just bring up two things in regards to income inequality and how it's not so simple as some people put it and some politicians put it, and the blame cannot be put at the feet of any free market systems. Now, it should be pointed out that socialism, capitalism, or any ism you've got your society running on will produce inequality. That is not in and of itself a bad thing. Any system involving human beings will naturally have inequality. That's a fundamental quality of any system, whether it's designed or not. But the point is that income inequality in the US is at pretty insane levels, but the reason why there is such a high level of income inequality is due directly to the federal government, the Federal Reserve, and inflation. Now, there are some other reasons too, the manipulation of interest rates and the effect that has on savings accounts and the stock market, which helps the super rich as well, but I'll do a video on that another time. So inflation, the creation of new money, it initially enters, that's a bit redundant, initially enters, but it gets into the economy by credit markets, people taking out loans, people financing things, people buying things they don't have the liquid cash for right now. The moment it enters into circulation, it has not created any significant inflationary effects since it has not circulated through the economy. Now it's the rich, politically connected people who get to use this freshly created currency first before it has any of its purchasing power diminished by inflation. So putting it very simply, the Federal Reserve creates the money and it has a certain level of purchasing power. The politically well-connected get to use it first, and by the time it trickles down around the middle class, its purchasing power has greatly been sapped. So this is a huge advantage that the rich have. They get to use more potent money, and as I said, it is greatly removed from any true free market forces, considering it is government-created institutions like the Federal Reserve that are the only reason why this can happen in the first place, and the rich get richer than what they would have been if not for this government-enabled intrusion into the credit markets. Now, what's the other aspect of inflation that disproportionately helps the rich? Well, it's important to know that inflation actually eases the pain of debt. If you think about it, if you borrowed $100,000 10 years ago at low interest rates, which is what we've had due to the Federal Reserve as well, that $100,000 10 years ago was more difficult to pay back then than it is today. Inflation does cause wages to rise, but unfortunately they seldom keep up with the price of goods, and that's where the pain comes in. But the number value, the actual number of currency notes you will come across, will increase with inflation. So you will be getting a greater number of dollars. It's just that its purchasing power is diminished. So if you borrowed X number of dollars 10 years ago, today it's far easier to acquire that X number of dollars because the supply of dollars is greater, and the amount that each dollar is worth in real terms is much less than it was when you borrowed the money. Now, what does this have to do with wealth disparity? Well, what does the average person borrow money for? They borrow money to go to college, to finance a vehicle, to mortgage a home, or to buy a new big TV, or whatever it is. They are not generally income-generating properties. Now, what does a filthy rich person take out loans for? They want to buy businesses, invest large sums of money into different ventures, purchase capital goods, purchase properties, apartment complexes, and homes to rent out or to flip and sell. So like I said, they borrow huge sums of money. Let's just keep calling it X. They borrow X number of dollars, and paying it back becomes much easier as inflation increases the supply of money. But whatever X is does not grow with inflation. So the politically well-connected rich people get to borrow larger sums of money, invest into income-generating properties, and the large number of dollars that they borrow is made easier to pay back once inflation hits. So the more they borrow within some constraints, the more they benefit, and it's highly disproportionate to what your average person is able to do. So I tried my best to explain that as clearly as possible, but it should always be remembered that this system has nothing to do with free markets. It has statism and government-granted powers written all over it. So whenever someone blindly states that it's just free market capitalism that causes the level of wealth disparity we see in the US today, I think it's it's very fair to say that they need to look a lot further into it. If you want to diminish wealth disparity, the only logical first step is to at least diminish the role of government institutions. They are the ones who are at the core of why you get screwed. But that has to be it for now. Please like and subscribe. That would be rather awesome of you, and see you later.